I'd never considered myself paranoid, not even a little. I used to be the kind of person who left their front door unlocked while they were home, the kind who didn't worry too much about leaving a window cracked at night. I lived in a decent suburb northeast of the city, quiet, calm, and just the right dose of boring, the kind of place where people waved to each other across lawns without ever knowing each other's names. I was brushing my teeth that Thursday morning, half awake, foam on my lips. When it happened, my iPhone lit up on the bathroom sink. I ignored it at first, thinking it was just an email or something work-related, but the notification stayed there, bright and clean and urgent. I spat into the sink and reached for the phone, intending to swipe it away. Then I froze. Unknown AirTag detected near you in Barchen. This item has been moving with you for some time. Purcher. Blinked. Hard. I'd seen videos about this. Those news clips of people finding AirTags hidden in their car bumpers by thieves, or stuck in handbags by stalkers, or tucked in coat pockets by exes. The kind of thing you watch and go, crazy what people do. Never once did I think I'd see that screen lighting up in my hand. I tapped the notification. The screen changed. A small map appeared. My neighborhood. A pulsing blue dot showed my location, and just beside it, a tiny gray circle. The AirTag. It had been with me for the last 2 hours and 11 minutes. My heart twitched like a trapped animal. I wasn't in bed 2 hours ago. I wasn't at home. I was at the gas station about 3 blocks away, filling my tank and grabbing a coffee for the drive to work. The AirTag must have been placed then, but how? I locked my phone. I walked into the living room, looked around like the walls were watching me. Then I did something that still feels stupid in hindsight. I tried to calm myself down. Probably someone's lost tracker, I told myself as I threw on my work jacket. Probably just a glitch. But when I grabbed my car keys, the phone lit up again. The owner can see your location. That was when the first shiver ran up my spine. I walked outside, trying to convince myself I wasn't being watched, but the air felt different, heavy. The early morning haze seemed to cling to my windshield as I approached the car. My breathing slowed. I crouched down, checked under the bumper, around the wheels, the tailpipe, inside the gas flap. Nothing. I opened the door, tossed my bag inside, and suddenly stopped. A thought slithered into my mind. Check inside the car. I reached under the driver's seat. My fingers brushed dirt, receipts, and a pen cap. Nothing. I looked under the passenger seat. Nothing again. Then I grabbed my backpack and flipped it open. That's when I heard it. A soft click. I froze. The car was silent, but that sound, tiny, metallic, came from the bag. I dug into the small side pocket, the one I never used. My fingers felt something hard, coin-shaped, smooth, an AirTag. That's when my heart jumped into a sprint so fast I thought I might black out. Someone put this in my bag, someone close enough to me to slip it in without me noticing. I dropped the bag on the seat and stumbled away from the car like it had caught fire. Pulled my phone out again, breath ragged. The screen flashed. Last seen, just now. Whoever placed it, they were watching, right now. Maybe from the street, maybe from a car parked across, maybe through a window. I didn't see anyone. But I felt someone. That was the moment I realized. I'm not safe. Not anymore. I called 911. I've never called them for anything more serious than a noise complaint. But this time my voice was trembling as I explained the situation. AirTag in my bag, unknown owner, tracking me for hours. The operator was calm, said they'd send a unit, said to stay somewhere public, said they'd check the AirTag for prints. She didn't seem surprised. That scared me more than the device itself. I walked down the street, gripping the AirTag in one hand like it was a grenade. I went into the coffee shop on the corner and sat by the window. Every car that passed made me flinch. Every door that opened jolted me like a slap. 10 minutes later, a patrol car pulled up. 2 officers, one young, one visibly tired, walked in. I gave them the AirTag. "You're the 3rd one this week," the young one said. "3rd one this week. It's becoming a trend," the older officer added, as he held a sealed evidence bag open. "Seems like someone around here's been buying a lot of these things and getting real creative." He asked if I'd pissed anyone off. A crazy ex? A CO worker? Neighbor? I shook my head, but I was lying to myself. There was someone who'd been quiet until recently, someone I hadn't thought about in months. His name was Dylan. We used to work at the same place, marketing company, downtown, cubicles and burnt coffee and flat afternoon light. He was the kind of guy everyone liked at first. smooth talker, always smiling, but there was something off about him. I couldn't name it, but he never blinked at the right time, never laughed at the right moments, and sometimes he'd stare, like he was memorizing something, or someone. He started talking to me more last year. Harmless stuff, like asking if I knew any nearby lunch spots or if I wanted to join him for after-work drinks. I always said no, never rude, just honest. I didn't trust him, and trust is one of those things I never loan out anymore. After the third or fourth time, though, he started getting strange. My phone would ring, unknown number. If I picked up, silence, a long silence, then a hang-up. Then I'd come out of the office and find my tires dusty, like someone had rubbed their hands along them. Or my apartment doormat slightly crooked, though I never touched it. Or a text that just said, "Have a good night." No number, no contact name, just that smiling, suffocating emoji. I reported it to HR. They talked to him. He denied everything with that polite grin, and a week later he quit. Just left, no 2 weeks notice, no goodbye emails, just gone. But not gone. The cops took the AirTag, took my statement, said they'd run it, see if they could track the serial number back to a purchase. But the older officer's voice dropped before they left. "Listen," he said, "if someone really wants to go unnoticed, they'll buy these things with cash, from a pawn shop, off Facebook. You get me?" I got him. The young officer handed me a flyer, How to Protect Yourself from Electronic Tracking. Kind of dystopian, right? Like something from a sci-fi movie. Except it was now real, and it was happening to me. "Don't go home alone for a while," he added before leaving. That buried something cold and heavy in my stomach. So I didn't go home. I went to my friend Marcus's place instead. He didn't ask many questions. Just let me crash on the couch and shoved a blanket at me and made jokes to lighten the mood, like, "You know, you're basically living the plot of that new Netflix thriller, right?" I laughed. I tried to, but later, in the dark, I couldn't sleep. I kept checking my phone, checking the windows. Every creak in the house made my chest tighten. There was nowhere to hide from the feeling, that feeling of being watched. The next morning, I went outside to get some air. The sun was up, but it didn't feel warm. I checked my phone. No new alerts. Good. Maybe the cops disabled the tag. Maybe this was over. Then I looked up, across the street, parked there in the shade, a white sedan, windows tinted, just dark enough to hide whoever was inside, engine running, barely audible, no movement, just sitting there, watching the house. My lungs froze. I backed up slowly and closed the door, heartbeat in my throat. Marcus walked in with 2 mugs of coffee and saw my face go pale. "What?" He said, "What happened?" I pointed. He walked to the window, peeked out. "Man, that car's been there since last night." "What?" He nodded. "I saw it when I got home. Figured it was one of the neighbor's guests or something. That was when something shattered inside me. This wasn't random. This wasn't a chance occurrence. This was planned, deliberate, persistent. Whoever was tracking me. Whoever put that AirTag in my bag, they weren't scared off by the police. They were waiting, watching, maybe even enjoying it." And then, my phone buzzed. A new notification. I opened it with trembling hands. "The owner of this AirTag has been notified of its discovery. And just beneath it, last seen, near your current location." My blood turned to ice. Someone was still tracking me. That was the moment reality changed. The moment I realized this wasn't just a device. This was a message. This was a threat. And maybe, just maybe, it wasn't meant to scare me away. Maybe it was meant to lead me somewhere I wouldn't come back from. I didn't stay at Marcus's place after that. Not long after the notification popped up on my phone, we walked back to the window. The white sedan was gone. That almost made me feel worse. That whoever was watching wasn't sloppy. They were intentional, calculating. It was 8:42 a.m. When I left Marcus's house, bags packed, eyes scanning every driveway and backyard, the world around me felt like glass, brittle, thin, breakable. "Want me to drive you?" Marcus asked. I shook my head. "No, I'll get a ride." I didn't want him involved. Didn't want that shadow spilling into other people's lives. I ordered a rideshare to the police station to check on the AirTag case. Before I shut the door, Marcus called out, "Call me any time, man." I nodded. I tried to smile, but my mind was somewhere else. I felt eyes on my back like a physical touch. The station was cold and fluorescent and smelled like old paper and burnt coffee. The same old officer from before, badge 212, met me in the front, files under his arm. "We ran it," he said. "The serial number on the AirTag wasn't registered. Means it was never paired to an Apple account." "So it's untraceable?" I asked. "For now, yeah. Also, no fingerprints." I sighed. "Of course not." Badge 212 leaned back in his chair. "Look, I'm gonna level with you. You're a smart guy. You can probably tell this wasn't a random thing." I nodded. "We can send patrols by your place, we can do some drive-bys, keep an eye on things, but if this is targeted, if someone's really trying to get in your head, the best thing you can do is disappear," I finished. He didn't answer, just blinked, like that told me everything. So I did. I didn't go home. I didn't go to work. I hopped on a bus heading 2 hours in the opposite direction, toward my aunt's cabin, a place surrounded by woods, lake water, and silence. The moment I was on the road, I turned off my phone, sat in silence, let the drone of the engine hum me into a restless sleep. When I woke up, twilight had spilled across the trees. The road curved like a spine through untouched forest. No signal, no lights, no noise, just peace. Or so I thought. The cabin was small and older than I remembered. The wood smelled faintly of moss and cigarettes. A single river ran behind it, quiet and almost glassy. I made dinner, microwave noodles and canned beans, and tried to read, but my head wasn't in the story. It kept drifting, replaying the last 40 to 8 hours with the AirTag. Over and over. I went outside for air. The night felt heavy, like the world was holding its breath. That's when my phone, back on now, in airplane mode, lit up. One new notification. My blood froze. AirTag detected near you. This item has been moving with you. Last seen 1 hour, 21 minutes ago. That was impossible. I hadn't seen anyone on the bus. No one spoke to me while I got off. I hadn't stopped anywhere. Hadn't seen any car that followed us. But the map didn't lie. The tag had traveled with me. I looked down at my backpack, zipped shut. I tore it open like it was filled with rats, dumped everything on the table, clothes, charger, toothbrush, notebook, nothing. I checked the pockets, nothing. Then I saw the lining, torn, barely noticeable, a tiny slit in the inside fold, like someone had made room for something to slip in. I put my hand inside, felt the stitching. I felt something small, smooth, an AirTag, another one, and this time, it was hidden better than before. That was when I hit the floor, knees weak. They'd gotten into my bag again. My bag was never out of my sight, except at the police station, except when Badge and 212 took it to run a check, except when the evidence bag was filled and I was left in that lobby with no eyes on my stuff. They put it back in. Someone at the station, someone with access, had slipped the AirTag into my bag while pretending to help. I wasn't just being watched, I was being cornered. I ran outside, phone in hand, shaking. I turned in circles, staring at the tree line, breathing thick, heavy smoke in the cold night. And that's when a beam of light hit me. From the trees, a flashlight. In the distance, someone was in the woods, watching, close enough to see me, quiet enough to not be heard. That spark of panic lit into flame. I ran back inside, locked every door, bolted the windows, pulled the curtains shut like skin closing over a wound. Alone in the dark, watching the door, I called the one person who still answered, "Marcus, hello?" I could hear the worry in his voice. "Where are you?" I explained everything. The AirTag in the bag, the police station, the woods, the flashlight. He didn't say anything for a long moment. Then, okay, listen. Do you think... There was a sound on his end. Grating, loud, like metal against metal. "Marcus?" Silence. Then low and muffled. "Hold on." I heard voices, a shuffle, something dragging. "Marcus, what's going on?" Still no answer. Then the line went dead. I tried calling back. No answer. I tried again. Straight to voicemail. The room felt darker, heavy, like gravity was pulling me into the floor. Was it happening to him too? Had I dragged him into it just by calling? That would be the kind of thing someone like Dylan would do, or someone worse. Someone who didn't just want me afraid. They wanted me isolated. I tried to think, who would do this? Who would know my routines, my weaknesses, my friends? Whoever it was, they weren't just tracking me, they were herding me. Like a sheep toward a gate, like a mouse toward a trap, I paced the cabin, heartbeat like thunder, and then I heard it. Outside, footsteps in the leaves. Slow, careful, close, then a knock. Soft, deliberate. At the front door, I froze. The knock came again. 1 tap, 2, 3, like a code. I didn't move, didn't breathe, just stood there in the dark like a corpse. Then the voice came, muffled through the wood, smooth, familiar. Open the door. My blood turned to ice. It was him. I didn't recognize the voice immediately, but I recognized the tone. Calm, friendly, patient. And then I heard the next sentence. I know you're in there, and I didn't come to hurt you. A pause, then a whisper. Not yet. The footsteps moved away from the door, crunching slowly into the woods again, as if the thing outside knew the fear it left behind would do the rest. I didn't sleep that night. And by morning, something else was waiting for me, right at the foot of the door. A folded note, no envelope, no name. Inside was one sentence, printed neatly like a typed message. Don't go back to the city, not unless you want this to get worse. And at the bottom, taped into the paper, small and round, a third AirTag. There's a difference between being alone and being abandoned. The cabin, once a sanctuary, had become a prison of quiet, thick, suffocating silence. Every sound seemed amplified in that stillness. My heartbeat, my breathing, even the soft rustle of the river outside suddenly felt dangerous, like something lurking beneath its surface. I sat at the small kitchen table, the note with the third AirTag still staring at me. The sentence at the top felt like a threat, but what haunted me more was the calmness of it. Don't go back to the city, not unless you want this to get worse. What could be worse than this? What could be worse than knowing someone is not only watching you, but enjoying the fear they're creating? I thought of the man in the woods, the flashlight, the voice at the door. I didn't recognize it then, but now, hours later, after replaying it over and over, it started to sound like someone I once knew, someone who had asked me for coffee, someone who used to stare too long, someone who had vanished suddenly, someone like Dylan, but there was no proof. And part of me wanted to believe this wasn't him, because the person behind all this didn't just want to scare me. They wanted to control me, maybe even destroy me. I stood up and checked the doors again. Locked, bolted. I checked the back entrance, closed tight, checked the windows, every curtain drawn, every latch set. Then I grabbed a knife from the kitchen drawer. It felt wrong to carry one, but it felt worse not to. My phone was in my other hand, full signal now that the sun had risen. I tried Marcus again, straight to voicemail. That phone call last night, the scraping, the voices, something had happened, something I might have started just by reaching out, and now the silence was an answer all its own. I sat in the middle of the room, knife in one hand, phone in the other, staring at the AirTag, unable to take my eyes off it. 3 tags, one in the bag, one at the cabin, one in the woods, all placed quietly enough that I never saw who did it. All placed by someone who was ahead of me every time. This wasn't just about tracking me. This was a game. I couldn't stay in the cabin. I didn't trust the locks, didn't trust the walls, didn't trust the silence. I packed up my bag again, a different one, checked twice, and stepped outside onto the cold porch. The morning mist blanketed the forest like a thin white sheet. The trees around me felt like witnesses, like sentinels. But there, in the dirt against a fallen log, I saw it. Footprints, deep, fresh, leading toward the back of the cabin. And from there, another set leading away. Someone had circled the cabin while I slept. Someone who didn't break in, because they didn't need to. They wanted me to know they were out there. They wanted me to feel the fear swell with every passing second, that slow, mind-eating anxiety that gnawed at every sane thought I had left. I followed the tracks for a while. They disappeared deeper into the woods, almost intentional, like they were meant to be seen, and then lost. By the time the sun was fully up, I was on the road hitching a ride into town. There was only one thing left to do now, fight back. But every time I looked around at strangers' faces, passing cars, joggers, gas station attendants, I wondered, which one is watching me? Which one is waiting for me to slip up, to get comfortable, to stop looking over my shoulder? Because that's when they'd come again, with another AirTag, with another warning, or with something much worse. I got to town in the late afternoon, sat in a quiet corner booth of a diner off the highway, 2 cups of coffee in, and my hands were still shaking. I turned the AirTags over in my palm. 3 of them, 3 tiny devices with no fingerprints, no owners, no traceable origin, but something didn't fit. Why would they keep giving me trackers? Why not just watch me from afar? Why leave them where I could find them unless they wanted me to know? They wanted me to see their reach, their presence, their power. This wasn't tracking, this was conditioning, training me like an animal in a cage, letting me know, wherever I go, no matter how far or how fast, I am not beyond their reach. I was already in a trap. I just hadn't seen the bars yet. I left the diner. I walked to an electronics store across the street. Bought a Faraday bag and a burner phone, the kind drug dealers and runaway teens use, cheap, track-proof. I threw all 3 AirTags into the Faraday pouch and locked it, if the owner wanted to know where they were. Now they'd know nothing. And maybe, just maybe, they'd get frustrated. Or maybe they'd get angry. I didn't know which was worse. I sat outside the store, staring at the parking lot. That's when a car pulled in, black SUV, windows tinted, moving slow. I didn't think much of it, until the driver's door opened and someone stepped out. Someone I knew, someone I hadn't seen in months. It was Dylan. He didn't see me at first. He was on his phone, talking quietly to someone. I couldn't make out the words, but I saw his expression, blank, tight, unbothered by the world around him. Then he turned, just slightly, and I froze. On the other hand, he was holding something small, smooth, round. Another AirTag. There's a primal instinct in all of us, a reflex older than language. When you see a predator in the wild, you freeze. You go silent. Your body locks up while your mind screams at you to move. That's what happened when I saw him. Dylan, lean, composed, dressed in a casual jacket and jeans like he was just running errands, but it wasn't the clothes that scared me. It was the calmness, the quiet assurance in the way he stood, phone in one hand, AirTag in the other. Like this was normal to him, like hunting people was routine. He still hadn't seen me. I ducked behind a newspaper dispenser and watched him circle his SUV. He checked the wheel well, something under the bumper, like he was making sure another AirTag hadn't been removed. Why check the car? Unless someone else had been tracking him, unless he wasn't working alone. That thought splintered something in me. This wasn't just one man, this wasn't just personal. This was organized. This was planned. I lowered my gaze, pretending to rummage through my bag as he passed a few feet away, close enough that I could have touched him if I'd reached out. I didn't breathe until I heard the SUV door finally shut and the engine start. I peeked back up. He drove out of the parking lot, heading west. I thought about following him, about staying back and tailing him like a shadow, but something in my stomach told me not to. That was what he wanted, me chasing him, me believing I had control when in reality, I was already being played. I walked away from the parking lot, down the street, heart still punching my ribs. The sun was setting, leaking orange light over the storefronts and sidewalks. I replayed every moment in my mind, the AirTag in my bag, the call to Marcus, the cabin, the figure in the woods, the note. All of it was building to something, a circle tightening around me. And now seeing Dylan, alive, unchanged, silent, proved one sickening truth. This wasn't about getting close. This was about breaking me. Piece by piece, I booked a room at a roadside motel, paid cash, didn't give a real ID, checked the locks twice, sat on the bed in the dim, flickering light of a lamp that kept buzzing like a dying insect. I set the burner phone on the nightstand, left my real phone off. Every sound outside, passing cars, footsteps, doors closing, made my whole body tense. I caught my reflection on the TV screen, eyes sunken, hands shaking, clothes wrinkled from a night without sleep. Who was I anymore? Just a man on the run, running from a ghost wearing a familiar face. I tried to calm myself by sorting through the evidence in my mind. What did I know? Dylan was here, in this town, right after I arrived. He had another AirTag. Not one he was scared of, but one he owned. The police station wasn't safe. Someone there had slipped a second AirTag into my bag. Marcus was gone, or worse, the question wasn't whether Dylan was involved. The question was, how long has he been doing this, and with who? It was just past midnight when the knock came, not loud, not rushed, just 3 slow knocks that echoed through the cheap motel walls like someone tapping my spine. I froze. There was no peephole, only a voice, low, calm, just like before. Open the door. My breath caught. Not again. Not here. Not like this. I backed away, stumbling into the dresser, gripped the knife I'd taken from the cabin. Open the door, the voice said again, softer now, almost patient. Or I'm going to come in anyway. No laughter, no threats, just certainty. And then, the quiet crack of wood being pried. Whoever was out there wasn't knocking anymore. They were breaking in. I dropped the knife, grabbed my bag, flung open the bathroom window. It was small and narrow, but desperation makes you fast, flexible, and reckless. I climbed out just as I heard the motel room door give way. Boots on carpet, a pause. Then, "Where do you think you're going?" The voice was so close it burned my eardrums. I didn't look back, didn't stop. I sprinted across the parking lot, past parked motorcycles and streetlights flickering like dying fireflies. I ran into the night like my life was leaking behind me with every step. An engine roared to life behind me. Headlights blinded me. My legs burned. My lungs begged for air. I tore through a side street, then another, then through an alley, trying to lose the sound of the tires screeching against pavement. I turned a corner and slammed into a chain-link fence, trapped. The SUV slowed behind me, tires crunching glass. I pressed myself against the fence, shaking, breath fogging the air. The driver's door opened. A figure stepped out. Not Dylan. Someone taller, broader, quiet. Someone who'd been behind this just as long, maybe longer. He opened the passenger door and pulled something out. A bag. Heavy, canvas-like. I couldn't see what was inside, but I didn't need to, because when he lifted it by the straps and tossed it at my feet, I heard something shift inside, something soft, something human, and when I opened it just a crack, I saw Marcus's face, eyes open, not blinking, not breathing, blank, empty. Then the man leaned forward, voice just audible in the dark. "You should have stayed in the city." The next morning I woke up exhausted. I barely got any sleep after finally forcing myself to turn my phone off around 2 a.m. Telling myself the notification must have been a glitch. Maybe some neighbor was passing by. Maybe someone at the cafe had dropped theirs. Maybe the damn thing was a fluke. Yet somewhere beneath the excuses I layered like a crumbling wall, the same chilling truth stared through the cracks. Someone is tracking you. I brushed my teeth in silence the next day. No music, no podcast, no news. Just the sound of bristles scraping against enamel and the rush of water from the sink. Even the faint buzzing of my phone on the counter made my pulse spike. When I looked down, my heart stopped. The notification was still there. That meant the unknown AirTag was still moving with me. It hadn't been a glitch. It hadn't disappeared after I shut my phone off. This thing, this object, was persistent. And now I was trapped in an endless swirl of panic and denial. I checked every pocket, every jacket, every bag. Nothing. I opened my wallet. Empty. I flipped both shoes over and shook them. Nothing fell out. I even took the battery cover off my TV remote because my brain had spiraled that far. Nothing. 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 Where was it? I reached into the closet and took out the same backpack I'd used the day before when I'd been working remotely in a cafe downtown. I leaned under a table, felt the wood press against my legs, and watched the door swing open 100 times. Anyone could have dropped something in here. A pen. A flyer. A small white AirTag. My fingers scrambled through the front pocket. A mint wrapper. A few receipts. A pen cap. The panic suddenly flared into anger. I yanked open the second pocket, the one with the zippers that stick because of a spill from months ago. I jabbed both hands inside. Then I felt it. A cold, hard circle about the size of a coin. And the world stopped. I pulled it out slowly. The crisp white edges gleamed like a snowflake under light. An Apple Airtag. Perfect, new, unblemished, like it hadn't been in there long at all. My phone rang. "Unknown AirTag found near you. This item has been traveling with you." I stared at the device in my palm. Breath caught in my throat, eyes burning, heart fluttering like a bird against a cage. I wasn't imagining it. Somebody put this on me. Someone had their tiny eye on me, watching where I went, where I slept, who I visited, what routes I walked. Someone knew everything. My hands were shaking as I grabbed my phone and clicked the notification. It showed a map of everywhere I'd been in the last 24 hours. My apartment building, the grocery store down the street, the cafe, but then I noticed something else. Someone else's location was marked too, a place I didn't recognize, an unfamiliar street about 7 blocks away. Someone's house, a private home. Not public, not random. It was specific. And the trail didn't just end there. It started there. I zoomed out slightly and saw that every route on that map, from the first ping to now, had begun at that address. Whoever put this AirTag in my bag lived there, and they were stalking me from home. I immediately dropped the AirTag in a glass and filled it with water to kill the signal. I watched a YouTube video once, something about AirTags being waterproof, but submerged long enough they'd lose power. I wasn't going to take a chance with it pinging anymore. And the moment it stopped connecting to my phone, I planned to take that map straight to the cops. But part of me already knew the truth. The police wouldn't do anything. It was just a tracker, just a circle of plastic, just technology. They'd tell me to calm down, tell me no crime had been committed until something happened, until whoever this was got close, until they did something far worse than follow me. But I wasn't waiting for that. Not this time. I smashed the glass in the trash and grabbed my keys. I had the address on my phone, burned into my brain like a curse. 7 blocks away, close enough to walk, close enough to watch me, but far enough away that I didn't notice. Until now, it took about 15 minutes to reach it. I tried not to stare at anyone passing by, afraid that I'd make eye contact with the wrong stranger and somehow give away what I knew. I kept my head low, hood up, breaths shallow. The cold November air stung my skin like needles. The street curved off near a small dead-end lane I'd never gone down before. House number 94, a 2-story colonial with peeling white paint, tilted shutters, and a dying tree in the front yard. A black SUV was parked on the curb in front. No lights on inside, no movement behind the windows, dead quiet. I stopped across the street and stared, trying to memorize everything, every crack, every shadow, every possible person who could step out of that door. Then something moved, not from the house, from the back seat of the SUV. A figure leaning forward, watching me. I blinked once. The figure didn't move. Something glinted in the side window like a lens. I froze. My heart is pounding. My legs are screaming to run. Before I could choose, the person in the car slowly opened the door and stepped out onto the street and smiled directly at me, like we were old friends, like they had been waiting. A low voice rose above the wind. Been a long time since someone found one. My blood ran cold.